Here are the two boxes for the dresser, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open these first and pull out all of the drawer fronts because we're actually gonna wanna work with all of the drawer fronts prior to building the base. So let's go ahead and open these and get those drawer fronts out. Okay, there are a lot of pieces in here. So I'm gonna grab the drawer fronts, which I believe are these four right here, and then I think there's a skinnier one at the top, and we're gonna work on those. Oh yeah, here are the drawer. So there's a skinny one at top, and then there's four larger size drawers. Okay, so jumping right in, I'm gonna start off by sanding the front side of each of the drawers. I just want these to have a little bit more grip than how they originally come. They're originally really, really smooth, so I just give it a nice sanding with a heavy grit sandpaper. And what I'm gonna next do is lay out my wallpaper, and this is because I wanna see how many of the drawer fronts I could actually fit on here, and I'm able to fit 2 of those full drawer fronts on one laid out sheet, which is great. But I wanna find the center of the pattern. That way, when I flip it over to the back side and I glue it down, I know exactly where this pattern's going to repeat nicely. So I'm finding the left and the right side of the center, flipping it over to the back side, and then using a Mod Podge to glue down the wallpaper. And the reason that I'm doing this is because this is a very strong bond sealer, and this is just a really great adhesive for something that's all over. So I'm just applying a thick, good, like generous coat, not anything too crazy, just giving it a nice even coat all the way around. It's definitely gonna turn the wood like a little bit white, but that's kind of what you wanna look for when you're gluing this down. So I went ahead, applied my drawer front on and pressed it down, and then repeated the process to the next drawer front and just placed the next drawer front directly underneath. That way the pattern repeated down to the next drawer. Cutting off some of that excess wallpaper right there, and then I'm going to actually apply a couple of books on top and let that dry for a little bit. However, I realized I need to cut off the excess pattern at the bottom of the drawers. That way we could line it up for our next drawer set, because you're gonna want that pattern to be seamless all the way down. So how I'm doing this is I'm laying out my next set of paper, matching up the pattern from where the ending of our last drawers ended, and then marking where that's going to start with a couple of lines all the way across. And I'm just cutting off that top section. That way the pattern's going to repeat all the way down and just look really nice and seamless once all of the drawer fronts are completely dried. Making sure that I could still fit 2 of those large drawer fronts on, which I definitely could. And then I'm repeating the process of applying Mod Podge, flipping it over, and then adding books for weight. So I have now covered all of the drawers with the wallpaper. These ones are facing up, so I was able to connect the patterns properly. I put a ton of different coffee table books on there. These ones are facing down. Everything is just drying at the moment. So I'm gonna let these dry for probably about an hour or 2 before moving on to the next step. And while this is drying, I'm actually gonna go ahead and create the base of the dresser because we just need these to dry for a while before moving on. Alrighty guys, so I finished the base off camera. It looks perfect. This is what the base kind of looks like. The next steps are honestly constructing the drawers. We need to finish off what we kind of started here. So as you can see, they have been drying under here for probably almost about 2 hours. And what I'm gonna do now is actually cut the drawers apart, the ones that are actually connected to the same piece of paper like this one. I'm gonna X-Acto knife down the center here. Then I'm gonna X-Acto knife any excess off and then sand away all the excess on the front, and you're gonna see me do that, so let's get started. As you can see, we kind of have a lot of paper shavings here, and that is because on this exact dresser, the drawers have this beveled edge right here, beveled as opposed to just being a perfectly straight drawer. And you can kind of also see it here. So I finished 3 drawer fronts and they look incredible so far. But as you might be able to see, there is a little gap in between each that is wood, and that is because of the beveled edge that I was mentioning prior. I sanded everything off of the edge. That way it had no opportunity to peel up at all. It's really stuck down and solid. The only reason you're really able to tell this is of course because the wood is a different color from the wallpaper. So once we have everything painted, I honestly don't even think you're gonna be able to tell that there's like a little seam in between. Plus the drawers are gonna be spaced anyway so that they're able to be opened and closed. They look amazing and I'm super happy with how they turned out, but I wanna share with you guys the hardware that I got for this cabinet because originally it comes with just like the typical wooden hardware that the IKEA dresser comes with. The hardware that I ended up picking up are these antique brass cup handles, which I think are gonna look so incredible, especially with that color that I chose once we paint it all. But prior to painting it, I do wanna find all of the holes and all of the placements for these handles. That way, when we paint it, we don't have to put any marks over the top of the paint or anything to put these down, and the holes are already gonna be set for those. So I'm gonna start by putting down all of the handle placements and drilling all of the holes needed, and then we're gonna get to painting. So how I'm gonna drill the holes for these is I'm going to place my little cup handle on here, and what I did was I went 4.5 inches from the edge, so I found 4.5 inches. Then I went 1 5/8 inches from the bottom, and of course this is going to vary based off of what you have, and honestly the cup handles are probably the hardest ones to install just because there are 2 placements. So if you didn't have cup handles and you just had a normal handle, you can use the pre-drilled hole that it already comes with, which is super easy. But of course I'm making it more challenging for myself and just doing this cup just because I really like the style of this. And then when I move to the other shelves that are thicker, it's still gonna be 4.5 inches from the edge, but I'm gonna have to find that center point. And then what I'm doing is I'm literally taking the handle and just pressing it super hard down, which is giving me these little indentations where I'm able to then make my marks for where I need those drill holes to be. A little hack for when you're drilling these drawer fronts. So basically once you do one of the first ones, you can actually lay it on top of your next one and make sure that it's perfectly aligned. I kind of like even stack mine like this and then put it on top. Make sure it's really nicely aligned, and then you can go in with your drill and just go right through the hole you already created and into the next drawer. Ended up getting a quart of the Whitewater Bay Bear paint, and I ended up getting the paint and primer in one interior flat. I didn't want to have any sheen to it at all, so I got the flat one, and the color is so pretty. It's probably not showing up super great on camera here. And I ended up getting the fabric roller as opposed to the foam roller just because I wasn't sure if the foam was going to be too dense going over the texture of the wallpaper. And then I also got this little thingy here to put the paint in. So I'm going to start painting the front of all of the drawer bases, and then we're going to do the sides as well with a paintbrush. All right, so color reveal time. I am obsessed with this color. It's like a super soft green with like a little bit of gray in it as well. I just thought it was a perfect tone for this dresser. So I added a good amount onto the brush because the wallpaper actually kind of eats it up, I swear. And you're just gonna wanna apply even pressure, and you're gonna wanna actually apply quite a bit of pressure when painting this because you're gonna wanna get it in all of the little nooks and crannies of the wallpaper, because I noticed from different angles, and what I do suggest is walking around your finished painted piece at like a 360 to see if there's any angle that you did miss, because sometimes you actually see things that you wouldn't have seen prior. And I'm just giving this one full coating of paint, and I think I mentioned a couple times that I'm gonna give it 2 coats, but I actually ended up only giving it 1 because this paint was pretty full coverage, which was amazing. All right, so got the first coat of paint on all of these, and it looks incredible. I'm so happy with the color. And now I transferred the little dresser over to this piece of cardboard here because I'm gonna be painting the entire outside of this as well. Okay guys, this is what my living room looks like at the moment, but I have completely given one coat of paint to the exterior of this dresser here. Of course, I also added one complete coat to the drawers, and I also went in with that paintbrush right there that you guys can see and did all of the edges of the drawers as well. And I did all of the edges of like everything on here, so everything is nice and fully coated. And it's getting pretty late here, so I think instead of me trying to rush it today, I'm going to give myself all day tomorrow as well to maybe give this a second coat, put on all the drawer fronts, construct all the actual drawers, and get this together. So I will see you guys in the morning. I just went ahead and added all of the handles to the front of the drawers, and it looks amazing. I'm very happy that everything kind of lined up and it looks perfect. But now we're gonna get to actually constructing these drawers and putting them in the dresser base.